Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. Lots to discuss. We're in the midst of the first round of the playoffs. A lot of good stories, a lot of injuries, a lot of other things to talk about. We'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
All right. So let's talk about how Google Maps sort of lies to you. And so, I'm on a trip and I'm coming back in I-95 as a lot of traffic. To be expected. But stopped off for something to eat. At that time I was supposed to get home around 4:30ish. And then after like 20 minutes of eating or whatever, it's like 5:30. And I'm like, You get on the highway, it says expected slowdown 5 minutes, expected slowdown 9 minutes. And I'm like, we used to live down here. There's another road that I'm not sure if we passed it, but if we can get to it, we might be able to make some time or at least not sit in traffic. Didn't offer the road, didn't do anything. We eventually, luckily, it was the next exit. We get off, we go on that road. It goes down like 7-8 minutes. Why didn't it tell me about that road, Mike? Whatever happened to alternate routes? That used to be a thing on all the maps, and it's seemingly gone. Like the only choices you have are either go the way they tell you or go no toll. But there's no in between anymore. And it's almost like the old Magellan.
Garmins
and Magellans, whatever they were calling them. They were the only GPS we had. It's almost like they were better.
Okay, I have a good story on that one because I had a Garmin, and I have friends who live downstate New York, and I knew without a map, without a Garmin, where they lived, so I could go. But first time I was going to Yankee Stadium, and I was going by myself. My Garmin, unbeknownst to me, was set to avoid toll roads. And of course, downstate New York, 17 or Major Deegan or whatever, or crossing the Tappan Zee Bridge. Oh, excuse me, not the Tappan Zee Bridge. It's the Mario Cuomo Bridge. It's all toll roads. So it was sending me west on 17 to basically go through Pennsylvania on side roads. And I'm like, where the hell is this thing taking me? Pull off the side of the road, go through it, and then it said it was avoiding toll roads. So that the other one where I was going to check out a Sault Ste. Marie, Mississauga game up in Mississauga, and it had me take the toll road, which I think it's 407.
Yeah, I don't like that toll road. Yeah.
Well, please, I didn't know until 2 weeks later how ridiculous the toll was. I got a bill for $25 US, and I'm like, never taking that goddamn thing again. But also you're right in terms of in terms of like alternate routes. I mean, I've gone up and down the QEW enough times to know like the ins and outs. And there's one spot which always slows down around the Burlington Skyway where you can get off and sort of go under it and go. And it didn't lead me there, and I took it, and it saved me like 12 minutes. So, yeah, I think it's a conspiracy on the part of Google Maps.
It's just not working right, and we just need to get it fixed because there should be alternate routes. There should be 2 or 3 choices that you have. And it also had a problem where, how it says could save you 3 minutes, accept yes or no. The problem is when we were getting to a point where there were 2 different ways you could go, either like 295 in the turnpike or just, what was the other road? I forget the other road. It couldn't, maybe 40. It couldn't figure it out. It kept going back and forth. Save 3 minutes, lose 3 minutes, save 3 minutes, lose. And I was just finally like, I just made a decision. But these things have to get worked out. This is 21st century, man. It's like,
well,
I can't believe my old, mapping program in my car worked better than Google Maps. I don't care. The speed trap thing is nice, fine. They bought Waze, they got that. I get it. But there's so many other things that are useless in there. And the one thing we all could use is not in there.
Well, okay, one last thing before we start the show. So that Burlington Skyway thing, It's Eastport Drive. You get off of it, you go underneath the bridge, you go over a lower bridge, and then you come back on the other side of the bridge, and usually you save 5-10 minutes. So this is the point where it was saying that's quicker going that way. So I come off.
Right.
Unbeknownst to me, and this is the trick, folks, if you're going up the QEW, look to your left as you're going on Eastport Drive, because if there's a ship coming out of Burlington, I think it's Burlington Harbor. If it's coming out of Burlington Harbor, then that low bridge, they're going to raise it.
Right, you have to wait.
So, and of course, Google Maps isn't going to know if a friggin' freighter is coming out of Burlington Harbor. So it actually cost me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and
that's interesting. The 407 thing is definitely a cash grab. Because we all got caught for it once. And then I said, Google suggested it. I'm clearly not going where Google suggests next time.
They're probably getting a cut.
Who knows?
Anyway, okay, let's start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Eklund will be joining us in a few minutes, and we'll be discussing all of the 8 series so far. We'll start with one that I don't think many people thought that there was a chance of a upset, because the Bruins were heavily favored over the Florida Panthers, but everybody was sort of curious after that series was 1-1 going back to sunrise with the Panthers winning. I think it was 5-2 at TD Garden. And the prospect of Bergeron being out, and now the prospect of Krejci being out. And everybody thought, okay, here's the chance for chaos. Russ, no.
No, I mean, look, they had a moment. The moment's gone. The Bruins knew they don't need those guys to beat Florida. They know that. And I'm not sure they're going to play. Maybe they'll play next game. Maybe they won't. Just to answer Timothy, yes, my dog was whining and now she stopped. Thank you for having good ears. But at any rate, the Bruins, this is like as easy a series as you can get in the 21st century. Like, it's hard to sweep teams now. We get it. But this is like a cakewalk for them. This series is not a problem for them at all.
No, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, the Alex Lyon, you knew the bubble was going to burst, and give them all the credit for playing great down the stretch, and they were riding the wave of that. But at a certain point, you knew the bubble would burst, and it did. It did in Game 3, or Game 3 or Game 4. I'm not sure. Wait. I think he stayed in for Game 3, and he was pulled in Game 4, and Bobrovsky came in. And I mean, honestly, Bobrovsky, I know he played better down the second half, and down the stretch in the second half when Spencer Knight was unavailable. That's the worst contract in the NHL. The $10 million is the worst contract. They and he was sick for a part of the time, but they rode a 30-year-old journeyman into the playoffs because Bob was Bob.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was obviously listening a lot because I was driving, but he was having a reasonably good game. It's just the Bruins know how to win games. The Bruins know how to wrestle momentum. The Bruins know how to sit back on a lead. They know how to counterattack. They're not playing. The Bruins don't play 100% at speed every moment. That's not their style. And because that's not their style, they actually can sit back and really break down a lot of what's going on out there, because it's hard to get the puck away from them. Try and dominate in puck possession against the Bruins.
So now we have, I mean, the Bruins right now, I mean, they have a number 1 in McAvoy, a number 1 in Lindholm, and a really good number 2 in Orlov. So their defense is just absolutely loaded.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. Now, Russ, you had mentioned something about the open mic situation with that game.
Yeah, there was some yelling going on at the end of the game. I want to say it was Kachuk and forget who it is from Boston. Anyhow, and so Ray Ferraro alerted him to him. So instead of turning the mic off and asking Ray what was going on, they let the mic stay on. And Sean McDonough's like, "Hey, Ray, what's going on there? It sounds pretty bad." And you could hear everything that's going on in the background. And Ray's like, "Yeah, there's a lot of not nice words being said right now and things back and forth." And while Ray was saying that, you could hear it behind him. And, doesn't get beeped, doesn't get bleeped, rather, doesn't get censored. So the question here is, and after the game, Brad Marchand complained that said ESPN crossed the line, and I'm not sure he's wrong. I mean, again, here's the thing. Trash talking is trash talking. Does it have to be in sports? No. Like, I played sports. I never trash talk, but there's guys that do. Whatever. Do you need to hear it at home? No, you really don't. And I don't want to be this person, right? I have no kids, so I really don't care if your kids hear curses or not. But there is that factor too. Like, if there are kids watching the game, should they really be catching it from a hockey game for their first time? Yeah, Eric Stahl, perfect example. And thanks, Long Transaction. He came over like midway during that last 2 minutes, and he just let loose. Now, of course, Eric Stahl's got this, really pristine reputation, and he let loose like a truck driver. We all know hockey players are like that. And I mean, I'm like that a little bit, and Mike definitely is.
Oh, yeah, and I'm a sewer mouth. I mean, I have a great reputation, and I'm a sewer mouth. But no.
This does bring up a question. It does.
Well, I mean, I have heard it proposed that as an additional source of revenue, that they would have NHL games fully mic'd. Not one player that can be edited or sanitized, the way as we've seen many a time on NBC or now TNT or ESPN, but like a game on Amazon Prime or HBO or whatever, where they're dropping not to say that they're going to purposely do it on purpose, but in the natural course of the game, you've got the mic out there and you're going to play that stuff. And it's like, okay, now the thing is, there's the opportunity there of trash talk that probably isn't politically correct, or
that definitely didn't come out in this one, but could come out. And that brings up a whole other list of issues. But the one thing that did come out on this was, there were like 3 things you couldn't say in my old neighborhood. Your mother, anything about the mother, anything about your girlfriend, or your nationality, right?
Yeah.
So why is it any different on the ice? You almost say it shouldn't be. And one of the things was, one of the guys was calling a name, to the guy's wife. Now,
well, yeah,
that would get anybody. That would get me really mad, and I'm pretty much a pacifist. But if you get me mad, I am not.
Well, remember,
I do go the other way.
Remember the Sean Avery sloppy second stuff. I mean,
right.
I can just imagine, and I'm just, I can just imagine what was being said. We don't know what was being said, but I can just imagine what was being said by some of the Tampa players against Toronto when with Morgan Riley hitting Braden Point, and everybody knows Morgan Riley is engaged to Tessa Virtue, the gold medal winning ice dancer. I'm sure, it would not be a stretch for Corey Perry or somebody like that to be making like things, I'm saying, going down that road. I can just imagine. Maybe it wasn't. I'm just saying, I don't know if it was. I don't have any but I'm just saying, hockey players go down, they will jab at you using the thing that they know that will get underneath your skin.
I will say this. So if we do want hockey players to give us good quotes after the games and such, then maybe we shouldn't be airing what's being said on the bench, because if they get mad, they don't have to give you good quotes after a game. And so I'm thinking ESPN did cross the line here. If you watch it, it's a little bit uncomfortable. Like, it's almost like ESPN went back to Ray simply because they knew the sounds were going on. Ray didn't add a lot. Ray just said something every few seconds, so they made it seem like, hey, we can keep talking about this because the game's essentially over. But look at this. Look what we got on mic. This is gold. We're going to get ratings. You know what I mean? This is gold, Jerry. But the point, that's an old dated reference, but if you know Seinfeld, you know it.
Right.
But I do think they crossed the line. I am going to say I don't think you should be airing that. Now, if you do a DVD, well, nobody does that anymore, but a digital release of the road to the Stanley Cup and the NHL chooses to include that stuff, that's fine. Because the audience is going to be different. There's going to be a rating on that package, and that nobody's going to be shocked at anything that's said. To me, that's fine. But I think for this, I think it just was too much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's stay in that. We'll save Toronto, Tampa for one next. Let's move to the Metro. The Rangers took a very dominant 2-0 lead into Game 3 at MSG, and I know that you're blaming, DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, and Anthony Rizzo.
I didn't blame them.
Yes, you did. You blamed them. You blamed the Yankees, the championship Yankees, or the ALCS. Exactly.
They weren't championship for the league. The entire base.
They got to the ALCS. The more that I can say about the Mets there, Russ. But listen, they were wearing
there. Enjoy your free jersey. I'm sure it wasn't easy to get one Aaron Judge's size, and enjoy it.
I think he was wearing a Panarin jersey.
He was, which was, if you think about it, there should be a picture of Aaron Judge and Panarin. I'm all for that. But you know what, guys? Don't toast the Rangers. Nobody needs that kind of bad luck. But no, I'm just kidding. Here's the weird dichotomy. Again, growing up, I was the oddball because a Met fan should be an Islander fan. Ranger fans have always had more Yankee fans because it's just closer to the city. That's always, what it's been. So that there's always been that dynamic. Not that Mets never show up at Ranger games, but they're almost always at Islander games. But they, sometimes they show up. Like John Hamm. You never know what John Hamm's going to be these days. He's been showing up to watch Tarasenko. He can't get the St. Louis out of his blood. But as far as this game, sure, it was good to put in Schmid and mix it up. That's fine. Do I think the Devils shut down the Rangers? No, I don't. I saw Panarin miss an open net. He was pretty unhappy about it. I think they limited them more, sure. I would be careful. Because, you could live by the Schmid and die by the Schmid. And the Rangers are going to do a lot of video work. I'm sure they already did before tonight. And they're also going to jam him more, putting Kreider in the crease and other things to foul him up. And this is where, like a Patrick Kane and other guys can really foul up a young goalie. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is like dangerous because it got you a game. You didn't want to be down 3-0. I get it. But now if you go back to him and they do figure out the secret to him, which, I've seen him this year and he's been pretty good. But if they figure him out, then you're in real trouble. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have a goalie anymore.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the two wins in Newark were two of the most one-sided games of all the first round. I mean, right. they were completely dominant. Game three, I thought, New Jersey, they played the type of game that they had to play on the road to get the victory.
Just to catch you up, we were like in complete shock and awe that they had to replace Vanacek and go with the backup rookie goalie. Anyhow, all right, you're caught up.
Didn't take long, did it, Russ? Did you just interrupt again? Have you guys heard "Playing for Time" by Peter Gabriel, the new song?
No, I have not heard that one yet.
Freaking unbelievable!
Great.
Like, I just heard it now, and I don't know what the deal is with his new songs, but they're coming 3 mixes.
No, I don't know about the mixes, but they're coming at full moons only. When there's a full moon, a song gets released.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Really? Is it serious or are you kidding?
No, I'm serious.
Because there's a bright side and a dark side. and an inside mix for each of the songs.
Okay.
I'm trying. I only heard.
Yeah, he did state that. He's a little eccentric, as you may know.
Well, I know.
And so he said there's been one coming out every full moon or new moon. It's one or the other. And
Maybe that's
I'm happy. Look, I've got tickets for Wells Fargo. I can't wait to see. I've never seen Gabriel.
Yeah, I've seen him many times. I'm going to go again too. That's awesome. I'm sorry. Just this song playing for time. Check it out. Anyway, so not to interrupt. Back to New Jersey and the Rangers.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. What I was saying is, it's a very dangerous road now to travel down if you're going to have Schmid be your goalie, because the Rangers will do video work on him. They have a lot of veterans that will be around the net, crashing the net. Even a guy like Kane could be very effective trying to do weird things, shooting from behind, all those different things, shooting off the backboards, which at the Garden, there are some bounces that aren't great, and the players know it. All those things. And with the Knicks playing too, which is an oddity, the ice won't be great. So I don't know if I would have him in there again, even though he may have played better than Vanacek. He's just not battle tested. And if they lose one more game, it really isn't going to matter who's in net then. He
is their future, right? Like Schmid's their future goalie. He's going to be the guy.
Yeah. But
either him or Nico Dawes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, he's playing tonight apparently.
Yeah.
He is a starter tonight. I mean, I defended Vanacek, and I still will defend Vanacek as having one of the best seasons a Devils goalie ever had. I mean, he had a great
regular season, sure, yeah,
regular season. And whether or not he can carry that, some goalies take different. Because we don't know pressure until you're there. You don't know pressure until you're there, which we'll talk about with Edmonton. But the reality is
Billy Joel did a song on pressure, not Springsteen.
Yes, no, I know, I'm aware.
One of his many good songs, right? Unlike Springsteen,
right?
No, but okay. So let's move to the series that.
Oh,
go ahead. Taking cheap shots at Springsteen for no reason.
No, there's a very valid reason.
I just was stating a fact.
There's a very valid reason. He sucks. Yeah. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
I was stating a fact the same way Tucker Carlson used to state facts on Fox.
Yeah. Used to.
Then you're 100%
used to, Mike.
And I'm sure you're 100% correct, Russ. All right.
Talking about big news, but no, I want to, because I don't know if anybody was Anthony the only one who took the Islanders.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anthony should give a prognostication on that one, because
it still could go either way. Honestly,
come on.
It's totally not over. Those games have been close, and
except for the last one.
And the one before that, but the first two were close. But each team won handily, and it's just like one of those things. I don't know. I'll see. You see where it goes. The Islanders. Sorokin hasn't played his game yet. Really. I mean, hasn't played his best game.
I'm going to be fair, right? Because I've watched and listened to these Islander games. He can't play his game because the problem is if you can't push the other team with a lot of shots and they're not getting enough shots, then that goalie is a sitting duck, no matter who that goalie is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and that's true. Listen, I mean, and the bottom line, Ronta's been good too. Ronta's been really good at times. He has been. He's been very good.
Yeah, Kevin did take the Islanders. Timothy's right. Kevin took the Islanders too.
Yeah, Kevin took the Islanders. I really thought the Canes would take it easily, but then I thought, maybe not so much. As after the first two games, I actually, was thinking it would have changed my pick to the Islanders at that point, but now we'll see. But anyway,
here's what I would say. After watching and listening, there's a couple things that are really striking to me. Bo Horvat has 7 shots in this series. 7 shots.
I know he's been very disappointing.
He's very disappointing. It doesn't matter if he's doing some of those other little things that you like. They got him to score some goals, but he's not the kind of goal scorer that he was in Vancouver. I think we all can realize now. Pedersen and Hughes helped him get mega numbers, but he still should be scoring more than he is. He's not.
Yeah.
The other thing is, while Ronta's playing really well, it's not. It's funny. It's not his play that is killing the Islanders. What's killing the Islanders is the mobile defense of the Canes.
They're suffocating.
Yeah.
They're just getting the puck out of there quick. They're able to do that, and the Islanders can't react. It's not like the Islanders are a slow team. but they try and set up, and they can't really set up that well.
Right.
They don't get enough zone time.
That's true.
I mean, the thing that's the most striking here is you would think that the Islanders would be more in this series based on the losses that Carolina has gone through. Entering the series without Pacioretty and without Svechnikov, losing Teravainen, and it really in this series hasn't phased Carolina much. They're getting solid goaltending. Their defense has been good. Their defense is generating offense. Guys like Burns are really stepping into the attack, and they're getting enough offense from Aho, and Mackenzie McEachern is getting a goal. So they're getting goals from unexpected places, and the Islanders don't have an answer. As we've said all friggin' year, they can't score. Now
it's baffling in some ways because it's like, yesterday I thought like the best player on the ice at times was Adam Pelech. He was like really
he probably was their best player.
He really in the third period, it was like he tried to bring the Islanders back single-handedly at times. Like he was making all kinds of moves. He's not an offensive defenseman, but he scores a goal and he also creates a couple more chances. I mean, they're unable to play with like desperation for some reason, and they're so well disciplined that they have lost that like ability to just play.
Well, I don't know how well disciplined there was a march to the penalty box yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, their style of play, not their actual. Yeah, I mean their style of play is so kind of set that they can't just like say, okay, we just got to score, go out there and score. It seems like there's no simplicity to their game at times. They're either all on or all off, and all on is really just a defensive back and forth style that you might score, you may not. But both, the teams have to play. You have to be able to play desperate hockey in the playoffs. You just do. At times, you have to.
Yeah, I mean, and Kyle Palmieri is actually one of their best players in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But there's so many guys on the Islanders that aren't pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Should Matt Martin really be in the lineup? That's a good question to ask. Like, I feel bad for Lane Lambert because he's been handed a roster that basically Barry Trotz rejected.
Right.
And he's trying to turn something into it, and he's made it into the playoffs. But he knows he doesn't have the horses like he does. And they've got cap problems for next year, too. Thomas put out, Mike, if you could find Thomas's post here about his fandom, who's at 127.
Oh, yeah. I asked him why.
He may not be alone in the sense, and I'm not telling any Islander fan they should stop being an Islander fan. But I think you have a right to be mad because I do think there is something going on here where they're just not good enough. They were good enough to make the playoffs, sure. They're not good enough to go 2 rounds in the playoffs. No way. And I don't think they're having a miracle comeback here, even to go more than a round. But you also have cap problems for next year, too. And you spent all this money on Bo Horvat. Like, there's a lot of decisions, Eck, that have gone into this team on the ice. This team that still has Martin and Clutterbuck and guys that aren't producing.
And Cizikas and Josh. I mean, I was saying to Russ before the show about them, finding some way station to dump Josh Bailey or something like that, because if they want to sign Mayfield, if they want to make improvements in other areas, that's the kind of stuff that you have to do. And I don't know whether Lou can do it or it'll be up to somebody else. But I wanted to touch on all 8 series. So and I saved Tampa Toronto for later. So let's move to the West. I watched a lot of Winnipeg Vegas on Saturday.
Yeah, I watched a fair amount of that.
And I'll tell you this: the loss of Morrissey is going to be critical.
Yeah, it's massive.
I mean, he's a Vezina Trophy finalist. It's tough.
Norris
Trophy finalist. He will be a Norris Trophy finalist.
Yeah,
he's had an unbelievable year for them. It's a devastating loss.
Now you have to give them credit. They're down 4-1 in the third period. They rally again, and I'll talk about this with Edmonton, LA. Why a team changes the way they play in the middle of a game when they're leading, when everything that they're doing is successful. This is what gets coaches fired, or why I question the tactics of some coaches. It's like you keep doing what you're doing. You're not gonna lose. They're up 4-1. They're sitting back on their ass, and friggin' Winnipeg scores 3 goals in the third period to tie it up, and only by a luck of Dylan Sandberg putting it off of Barbashev's skate and going to Michael Amadio for the game winner does Vegas get bailed out of blowing a 4-1 lead. It was unbelievable.
I do want to mention to Timothy, Matt Martin may have a goal in 4 games, but he has 16 PIMs. They don't need those 16 PIMs. Anyway, moving to back to Vegas. It's funny because I probably didn't give Winnipeg enough credit, but now that you do see him without Morrissey, I don't believe they can win without Morrissey. Yeah. But they were playing better than I thought. Like Winnipeg was actually, holding it in there. Eichel's played really well, though. Eichel's, we're finally getting to see Jack Eichel in the playoffs, and now we know what we're missing.
He's going now.
Yeah, it took a few, but he's been
Eichel's playing really well. Mark Stone looks really good, even I'm sure everybody will be pissed off, and there'll be meetings in the summer about the Kucherov rule or the Mark Stone rule, whatever. I mean,
they don't care about it.
It's part of the CBA, and live with it. I'm sorry, you have to find ways to circumvent, and that's a legal way of circumventing. But
no one knows, Mike. The thing about that, just real quickly on that. Yeah. No one can answer the question to me is why the rules changed in the playoffs. Like why suddenly you can have as much cap as you want in the playoffs. Like what the thing I don't understand about the CBA is, that's the only thing I don't understand. Like it's simple enough to fix this. Your cap is your cap. You can only play with a salary cap up to your cap, but suddenly in the playoffs it doesn't matter. Like what the hell?
I think they don't want, like, for example, they don't want teams having to play with 16 or 17 players in a playoff scenario. So essentially they say you've jumped through all these hoops through 82 games. Now that's over with. And you're allowed your 4 call-ups or emergency call-ups or whatever. I mean, I think that's probably it. That's
some limit though. I mean, it's just
maybe they put in like a 10% increase or
give a 10% increase or something. I mean, I get that maybe you're afraid of players getting healthy.
There's a 10% summer cap. There is.
Maybe let that start in the playoffs, but don't let this unlimited. Like you bring back $10 million players all of a sudden. Like it's
what's going to happen. You would trade for injured players all the time, though.
Right.
Like Nyquist.
Yeah, maybe.
And that would be a mockery. The other thing about Vegas is, and I like Brossoit. Like I'm going to go tell you.
Yeah.
I had a long interview with him, a lot of time spent with him at like the rookie photo premiere when he was a young goalie with Edmonton. And I liked him. I liked his makeup. I've always followed him. I like his size. This is probably the best goaltending of his career. And I'm still going to say, I don't think he could take him to the cup. I still feel like they're waiting on either Thompson or Quick to get to further places, but they don't need him for this series.
Well, the thing was, I think you put it in our group text. Quick wasn't even the backup. Aiden Hill was the backup. So I don't know what's going on.
About what's going on with Quick. I guess he's hurt. I mean, he's got to be hurt.
No, he doesn't want to be the backup. I guarantee you that's what it is. That Jonathan Quick is like, I am not going to be the backup. I'm your starter or I'm not playing. Really? He doesn't like being a backup.
Yeah, but you think he would say that? I mean,
I don't know. I think there's a chance.
I find that hard.
What injury? When did Jonathan Quick all of a
sudden? Who knows? I mean, it could be anything, but I mean, he could be sick.
Any of us heard about him getting hurt? Any of us?
I haven't heard anything about it, and I'm really baffled. Like they're being so cagey about it. It feels like maybe there was a fight about that or something. Maybe Quick got like pissed off when he was the backup and just said, "I'm not playing for you guys" or whatever, and just left. It feels like
he left, but I think it's a situation where I think he was probably like, "Listen, if you're not going to use me, use someone else as the backup." That's all.
Yeah, I mean,
it wouldn't shock me. I don't know this obviously, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, that would shock me though. I mean, I don't know. I don't expect. I mean, he's a weird guy for sure, like they say in the chat room. But I don't think
that's find an injury on him. Nowhere. Nothing's been reported.
Nothing's been reported. I know.
Actually, see, they just said he's scratched.
But how are you not using him? Like, especially after the series has got the series has gone a little bit crazy. How are they not going to him at all? Is this
right? Heck, don't you feel like now that they're saying he's scratched, that this is indeed something to do with this?
I feel like I feel like one of two things: either there's some kind of sickness or personal thing going on, possibly, or Or they just had a big fight, and their big fight happened with him being a backup in the first game or whatever, and they said forget about it. We're not going to use you.
There's tweets that are coming out, and this is legit for today. Are we just not going to hear about Jonathan Quick again? Is he really not going to even back up Brossoit for Vegas? This is from some Paramount Sports NHL, but it doesn't matter who it's from.
No, everybody's been thinking that.
That is the feeling.
Yeah, it feels like it reminds me of like Mrazek in Philly when things just went wrong and suddenly he was out. And he was, and his locker room was cleaned. The locker room was cleaned out in the middle of the playoffs. Like this happened, and it was, and the Flyers are going.
They said, like Owen Krebs tweeted, and I think he covers the team. Yeah, he's a beat reporter. Jonathan Quick is likely tonight's backup. That was in April 18th. Well, it was more than 2 nights ago. Last week. Well,
he wasn't. Yeah.
He's not.
Let's talk about that series. While we're here, no, not that series. I mean, we are talking about. Let's talk about LA Edmonton. Yeah, because we'll jump onto that one because that one is definitely an interesting one.
Well, there's some good things going on in that one that somebody doesn't want to talk about.
Oh no, I'll talk about it because this just gives the opportunity for Jack Campbell to blow it later in the series. But I have to give him. But this is the thing again.
Come on, Mike.
No, but this is the thing about
there's more wins than Matt Murray right now in the playoffs.
Zippity,
Matt
Murray. Let me get my point.
Go ahead, finish just trashing him. Go ahead.
But this is my issue, and I mentioned this with what Vegas did against Winnipeg. LA was dominant in the first period. They had a 3-0 lead, and again, Todd McClellan, I question his sanity because you don't sit back against a team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You're just begging for them to come back and kick your ass. And that's what, Edmonton erased the 3-0 lead in the second period. Now, I had changed the channel for a few minutes and didn't see the goal that made it 4-3 LA, but it was early in the third period. And then they sat back on a 1-goal lead for the entire third period. You just don't do that against Edmonton. Now, I'll give Campbell a lot of credit. He made 2 or 3 really great saves in the third period that kept that game 1 goal.
964 save percentage.
Yeah, in one game there, Russ. So how about
that's all he can play.
892 save or whatever it was during the regular season when he lost his shot. And I think they should put Stuart Skinner back in the game,
Why would you say that?
Because he's the better of the two
goalies.
He's the better of the two goaltenders.
You don't want Campbell to win this series. It's like it's insane. This is absolutely.
No, please, Edmonton, keep Jack Campbell in there because he's going to do for you what he did for Toronto last year. He's going to lose it at the worst possible time. Keep him. Go.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't know where to go from here.
God, I mean, Jesus.
Mike, that's so crazy immature.
It's
this thing is. I mean, listen. He comes in. He's shown in his here. Like I talked about last week, the Campbell has shown a history of being a big goalie at big times. And yes, he gave up 1 goal when the Leafs couldn't score any goals last year in Game 7.
Did I tell you anything last night? Nothing.
No. I said.
I know what you said, but
you think they should go back to Skinner?
Yes.
After what you saw last night.
He's the better of the two goaltenders.
He hasn't been. He's been horrible in this series. Honestly, the only reason that this isn't a 3-1 Edmonton lead is because of Skinner. Honestly,
Edmonton, please stick with
the only reason.
Please,
I mean,
stick with them. Go ahead, stick with them. That's what I really hope.
Well, I mean, can we talk about this reasonably for a second? Just
you talk
like
I'm talking reasonably. I'm talking completely.
You're talking like a Muppet. Anyhow,
I know. The reality is this: like he absolutely. I was talking before. Don't pull the Muppets into this. I was talking before about how I think you need goalies who have playoff experience sometimes, and that's what you saw there. With Campbell last night, you saw playoff experience. He comes in off the bench. He's in a really, that's about as high a pressure situation you get into because Edmonton can't go down 3-1 in that series.
No,
Edmonton cannot go down 3-1 in that series, and he comes into a situation. That's not his fault. There's nothing to do with him, and he shuts the door. I mean, the goal he scored was a breakaway in they missed the fourth goal that King scored. No. So here, the reality is he played, and there's no way they're going to go back to Skinner. By the way, and there's not a chance.
I don't know about that.
No, there's no way.
No.
Unless if Campbell comes in and gives up 12 goals, sure, but
yes.
But as long as Campbell, right? And I just felt so much better when Campbell got in there because I'm like, one thing the Oilers team needs is a solid. You know, he might not be the greatest goalie since time, but at least he's got experience. He's not going to like Skinner was making some real rookie type plays in there. Like he really did look like he wasn't ready for the playoffs. And
what people fail to recognize, and I was exchanging messages with another hockey reporter as we were watching the game last night, and Drew Doughty is still great. Anze Kopitar is still great.
Sure.
This is, Korpisalo was playing like the bubble Korpisalo for most of that game.
I mean, the Kings are a good team.
The Kings are a good team, and that's why I picked the Kings in 7 because
they're a good team, but the Oilers are a much better team, and you see it every time. I mean, they've dominated 80% of those games, and the Kings. When you sit back and you say the Kings have to change what they were doing, what the Kings were doing was counterattacking the Oilers. That's how they got their lead. Yeah. So that's what they continued to do. They continued to counterattack. What else could they have done, Mike? I mean, there's no option there. There's not like they suddenly start playing an offensive game.
I mean, honestly, in the first period, they had a very aggressive forecheck. And they were forcing Edmonton turnovers. And then in the second, when they're up 3-0, they're sitting back in the 1-3-1 and they're being passive and they're letting Edmonton attack. And that you cannot do that. What you have to do against Edmonton is get on their defense, because their defense still, even with Nurse and Ekholm, their defense is average at best. And you have to force them into turnovers. You've got turnover machines like Broberg and Cody Ceci on their blue line, but you can't sit back passively. And that's what LA did. They have nobody to blame but themselves.
It's not just coaches, it's players, human nature. It's like there's nothing you can do about why do they say the 3-goal lead is the worst lead in hockey? Like it's been going on forever like that. It's not like this is nothing new. When you get a lead, you do suddenly tighten things up defensively. We talk about teams that can't tighten up defensively as if they're wrong, right, as if there's a problem with them. So the idea here is, that's what the problem is. The Kings can't tighten up defensively. They have a problem with that. They can't because they every time you knew. I wasn't even worried about Edmonton winning that game last night because you knew that they were going to win that game. It was just the way the Kings they cannot stop them.
I didn't think it was over at 3-0, but when I turned the game back on and it was 3-2 after about 5 minutes into the second period or something like that, I'm like, yeah, okay, of course LA is doing this because it was a dumb move. You don't sit back, especially early in the game. You got a 3-0 lead. You don't sit back. If it's 3-0 in the middle of the third period, sure. If it's 3-0 at the beginning of the second period, you're a stupid moron if you're sitting back in a lead.
Here's what I would say. When I saw, and I fell asleep on, the later stuff. I watched it after.
I did fall asleep for the overtime goal.
Because I was driving home yesterday.
Watching it.
That second Draisaitl goal killed the Kings. Like that's a killer. Yeah. I know that they still came back and scored a goal, yada, yada, yada. But that is a killer. And the thing is, Edmonton kind of knows they can do that. All Edmonton has to get is decent goaltending to win this series. That's all they need.
That's right. That's all they need. They need a goalie they need some confidence in their goaltending. Because when Campbell went in there, you saw the team's confidence turn. Like you saw them they weren't worried. The defense wasn't worried to take a little extra pinch. They played a little bit more desperate. And the second they did that, LA had no answers.
Give me $1 for every time a team has changed the goalie and it changes the momentum of the game. It doesn't mean anything about the quality of the goaltender. It means they realize that they've been playing like crap and
they're obsessing over Campbell. The reality is that it doesn't care who it was. This is what happened.
I mentioned Campbell. I said,
yes, you did. You said that doesn't mean he's the quality of the goaltender.
No,
Campbell isn't a quality goaltender.
I'm saying he's not the best of the two goalies. That's all I'm saying. But
he's the best option they have right now. He's the best player. Whether Samson might be not as good as Murray or whatever, but he's the best you got right now. I mean, the reality is this is what you have. The best goalie, they have to play the best goalie they have.
I picked Los Angeles, so please, Edmonton, play Jack Campbell.
Here's one last thing on this. Yeah. So on the second Draisaitl goal, which was a power play goal, the tripping penalty on Kevin Fiala, a lot of people were like, "Wow, that's not a trip. It's barely a trip." I mean, I get it. Like on video, it sometimes will look like it's not that big of a deal, but it's really the intent and what ends up happening. And he was on the ground. Didn't Draisaitl fall to the ground on that? So, like, I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you? Why are we not expecting a call then?
Yeah, I know. I
I,
mean,
There was outrage on
there
that.
were a lot of reffing issues last night, but you
last
know,
night, how about for a lot of the
No,
play?
but
a lot of
okay,
games.
I'm gonna cite Mick Kern. Mick Kern gets it right. He goes, listen, he's been watching for 40 something years. We've all been watching for that long.
Yeah.
We all can find fault in the refereeing in the
Always.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Every year, every game, every moment. So it's like I don't even bother anymore. I just don't bother.
Right. You have to expect that the officials will cost teams games. Kerry Fraser.
It's not that. No. See, and that's where I think you've got it wrong, and Mick has it right. You can't let the referee be in a position to ruin your game.
That's exactly
No. I think you're right. You have to overcome that. But what I'm saying
you have
is,
to overcome it.
You can't leave it close. You can't leave a game close enough that could matter. That's the idea.
Sometimes it's impossible to overcome in a close game where a call can swing something one way or the other. No, we'll just touch on the two other West. I mean, honestly, Colorado, Seattle for me has been the most boring of the almost more boring than Carolina and the Islanders. I mean, for Seattle fans, I'm very happy they got a win. I watched the beginning of that game in Seattle, and the fans were all psyched. Mm-hmm. But Colorado is just so much better of a team than them.
It's a lot like the Edmonton LA series in a lot of ways. To me, it's like, but you can see that LA and Seattle they can both win this series. They both have the chance. I mean, it's not the difference. Isn't the difference? It's like parity, right? There's a little bit.
Yeah,
it's close enough, but there's no question that when push comes to shove, Colorado can dominate the game.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is like 1,000-meter race. And Seattle kept up with them for the first lap, and now they can't keep up with them.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I really do. It's going to be. I mean, they're showing themselves really well. They're giving their fans something to cheer about.
Yeah. Where I disagree with Mike is McKinnon has made some great plays. Makar healthy looks really good, and Rantanen too. I mean,
okay, Russ, I'm not saying it's boring in terms of the play. It's boring in terms. It's not a competitive series to me. I think Colorado's a Lamborghini, and Seattle is a used Honda Civic. I just think, they have a lot that, Matty Beniers is probably going to win the Calder, and they have some good players, but you've got a lot of recycled guys, and it's just not really a formed team right now. And this is the Stanley Cup champion, even though, they've had some players missing, and, Georgiev is a good goaltender. And if Makar is healthy, he's the best or one of the two best or three best defensemen in the league. It's just not competitive. And I've watched it and I'm like, Seattle doesn't have a chance. If they win game 4 and they stay in it, okay, fine, but I just don't think they're in the same league as Colorado. That's why it doesn't interest me that much.
Another point of interest, we forgot to mention, Mike, at the Florida game. So Bobby Orr invited Wayne Gretzky, and they sat together at that game. Thoughts?
The best player invited the third best player, meaning Bobby Orr invited Wayne Gretzky.
Now the atmosphere was really good in Florida, by the way.
Was there any empty seats or people disguised?
No, actually, on the radio,
they were sold out.
Heck is right. On the radio, I heard "Let's Go Panthers." It was loud.
It was loud in that building.
I
know people who were in there. They said it was really loud. I feel bad for the Panthers fans because they have actually, when the Panthers have this bad luck that when they actually do sell out games and show up in the playoffs, they've had a tendency to lose. Like they lost both games.
What was it? Buy one get one free night?
No, they made a lot of money. They sold a lot of tickets.
It wasn't that way with the Van Beesbrook team. It's more recent memory.
I mean, but last year against Tampa, they got fired up for 2 games. They lost both at home.
They've
got to allow the fans to throw rats on.
I have a feeling though that this series is going to go 6, and I think it is going to go back to Florida. But I don't know. I still don't know. Like if it goes past that,
it's not. I mean, we were saying Bergeron and Krejci aren't even playing.
Right.
Well, this is part of the depth. I mean, like suddenly Taylor Hall is getting the minutes he can, and he shows you that he's like, if he gets more minutes, he's going to score more goals. Like he's just that kind of player, right?
You got a former Hart Trophy winner playing on your third line. That's how.
Now he's suddenly scoring a lot of goals and key goals because he's like, he is what he is. I mean, I think I do think they should have gone to Bobrovsky the game ahead of going. I really think they should have gone to Bobrovsky for game 3 and but
say that again, Russ.
That's fair. No, I think Eck is right about Bobrovsky. No, I said Tony Soprano should pipe down about free tickets. They're not giving away free tickets for the playoffs, and your team looks like dog poop a lot of times in this series. So when we talk about the Dallas Stars, don't start,
Well, that was the one I was going to go to next, because
Right.
I mean, talk about a physical pounding. That series is just it's ridiculous. I mean, okay, it started with the Dumba hit on Pavelski, and really it's sort of just decompensated into, just a sort of a pure six brawl.
Yeah.
Marcus Foligno is throwing his body around like crazy. Dallas is sort of targeting Kaprizov when they get a chance. Ryan Suter is getting booed by the Minnesota fans. Yeah. And why? You're going to boo the guy because your team bought him out? I mean, he was still a good player and they bought him out.
Because he's taking shots at Kaprizov. That's why he's getting booed.
Well, yeah.
Which is deservedly so. I mean, it's like, I don't think they care about the buyout at this point. It's just like, to me, I mean, Kaprizov in the third period yesterday looked a little bit better than he looked the whole series.
He's not quite there, yeah.
But he's getting there. It feels like he is, like, I think he, has the potential if he continues that level that he had in the third period,
right?
They got a shot.
The guy, what Dallas is doing. I love Jake Ottinger.
Thank you.
But as a team, I feel like Dallas is trying to just drag this series into the gutter, and they're better than that, or at least I thought they were better than that.
Well, no, I think they know that that's a series that they can win because they have more weapons. And they're sort of following the Tampa Bay model, and we'll get to that in a minute. But really, they're dragging it into the gutter, and
Minnesota's helping them though. It's not just them.
What's that?
Minnesota is not exactly playing the cleanest series.
No. But I think that Dallas thinks that they can win that game, whereas if it's skill on skill, maybe they think it's less of a chance. That's all I'm saying.
I want to mention State of Survival says in the chat room, in Canada we throw frozen dog poop at people. In Canada, that's how you invented the hockey puck. It was frozen cow poop.
There you go. Perfect. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll have Dan Wallace from Minnesota on with us on the podcast, which will be good. We'll get to talk about the series in depth.
I disagree with Tony Soprano. The Stars are not biding their time. The Stars are trying to beat up the Wild and win that way. I think they're frustrated by Gustafsson. That's what I think.
They're frustrated by Gustafsson. And I also think they're not going to give Wild enough credit for their talent level that they have.
And they're not going to go back to Fleury act. They can't go back.
No way. No way they're going to go back to Fleury. No, they shouldn't have ever gone to Fleury. It's baffling.
Now I saved the best for last. And and this is the thing. And I said this on the podcast that I did after the game. I did on the Leafs Convo yesterday, and I'll say it here. The Leafs won. Yeah. The Leafs were not the better of the two teams. They played from the Brandon Hagel goal at the end of the first period until Morgan Riley won at the end of the first overtime. Tampa was the much better team. Samsonov made a ton of saves, kept them in that game, but the Leafs were passive. Tampa was attacking them physically, and I'm really stunned that Toronto won the game. I'm obviously Leaf fans are overjoyed that they did, but if they expect to win Game 4 playing like that, they're not going to. I tweeted out since 2018, and now you can ignore history, fine, but in every series, everyone since 2018, when they've had a chance to go up 3-1 in a series, or they've had a chance, or a game-deciding game in 5 series in a row, they're 1-11.
Yeah, but they're not all the same players. I know
that, but I'm okay, and that's why I'm Russ.
I only would count that record for how many have these guys lost in the last 4 or 5 years, because it's a lot of the same guys. You're talking about guys that are like retired. They're
there's players that But there's players whose kids are in the league now, Mike.
Right. I'm talking, and this is 2018, Russ. I'm talking Tavares, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Riley, that core group. Yes, the secondary pieces around it have changed. And if you want to know,
you're gonna blame Jason Spezza because he's in management now.
If you want to know the reason they won Game 3 was most of the guys they added at the deadline. Achari scored a goal. O'Reilly had a goal and 2 assists. Luke Shen was the sheriff out there. He was physical. Samsonov, who they added this year, had a really good game. And Matthew Nyes has been really impressive. It wasn't the core guys until Riley scored the game winner that really did a ton.
Yeah, that's why they won Game 3, because they scored one more goal than Tampa. That's why they won.
Yeah, but Tampa was the better team.
They may have been, but again,
my point is here
they weren't that much better, Mike. It's not like they blew them out.
Right.
They had 39. It was 39 shots on goal. They dominated.
Shots on goal don't mean beans.
No,
They
dominated.
No, the quality of shots on goal weren't the greatest either.
They dominated offensively and physically. They dominated from the end of the first period till the end of the first overtime. And the only two highlights at that point were O'Reilly's tying goal at the end of regulation and Riley's game winner. They play like that in Game 4. They're going to get poleaxed.
Heck, you know what, though? Think about this. This is the perfect storm, because the Leafs don't play their best game. Mike gets to bitch about it, but the Leafs win. It's a perfect storm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know any other way of saying it, Marsh. You're exactly right. I mean, the reality is that every team that wins a Stanley Cup wins a couple games in the playoffs they shouldn't have won.
Well, I'm back. What from your mouth to God's ear? Sheldon,
isn't that true though, Mike? I mean,
yes, no. Sheldon Keefe after the game said, these are the games that we haven't won in the past.
Exactly.
And that is true. But now you have Game 4 and you have a chance to go back to Toronto on Thursday up 3-1 with a chance to eliminate Tampa. And the only thing that Leafs Nation is saying, and the only thing that all the people who observe this team have to be saying is step on their neck and kill them.
But it's hard. There's Tampa's set up to play 7 games in this. They're set up to play 7 games in this series.
Yeah.
Stamkos is playing mind games and beating up Austin Matthews for no good reason. And the one thing I'll say is, does Tampa get favorable calls? Sure, absolutely they do.
They do, but I mean,
there's a good reason.
Gets away with murder out there.
Okay, there's a good reason. Stamkos is very smart. Why is he drawing for? Sheldon Keefe said it after the game. John Cooper scoffed at it. At the point that the Riley hit on point happened, and Kucherov jumped in as a third man, and of course they didn't give him anything more than a 2-minute minor on that. Then he got into a fight with O'Reilly. Stamkos said, they're not going to give us another minor to put us down 5-on-3, so I'm going to get into a fight with Austin Matthews. And why do you want to get into a fight with Austin Matthews? What has been his big injury the last couple of years?
I really don't think it's about Austin Matthews.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, it's not about the wrist, but I'll tell you what.
It's not about injuring him. It's about making a statement. I mean, Stamkos isn't a guy who's going to try to hurt anybody.
He's a smart player.
They also kept him off the ice.
Not malicious.
When the time was up for his fighting, it took him a minute. Mike said 8 minutes. They said
8 minutes.
5 minutes to get him out on the ice, just because there was no stoppages.
Right.
Like that's
It was half the third period. And you know what? I'll bet you Tampa Bay is so smart that I bet you they realized, even though they had Stamkos and Kucherov in the penalty box, the Leafs had their top 2 centers in the penalty box, and they were basically saying, let's run out the clock, because all they can do is recycle David Kampf out there instead of those two.
I don't disagree that was a strategy. I think Tampa is that smart.
It reminded me of, you remember the Vinny LeCavalier Jerome McGinley fight?
Oh yeah.
In the Stanley Cup Finals,
I was there.
It reminded me of that. It's like Vinny LeCavalier at that time felt like he had to make a statement, and he did those two. Vinny's not a fighter, but he goes after Iginla, who was a fighter, and Iginla fought people. But that was, and Vinny held his own. Remember, that was like terrible.
We were all shocked.
And but Vinny held his own, and he never. I think he had like 2 fights in his whole NHL career. But like that reminded me of that, and I think Stamkos was taking a page out of that. In my opinion, I was impressed. I mean, I was impressed by Stamkos doing that. I did not think at all it was to try to hurt Matthews. That's just ridiculous.
No, he was just listening.
It was to try to show that hey, you're their best player. I'm Steven Stamkos. You're Austin Matthews. We're both on the ice right now. Your guy just did something wrong. I'm going to go after you. Like that's
Austin Matthews was picking up. He was cleaning up. He was picking up sticks. And Stamkos says, "Okay, here's an opportunity to get into a fight with you." And that's why I'm sorry. I think that I'm not saying he was going after and slashing his wrist, but I'm sure that any opportunity to Austin Matthews is not
Stamkos is not exactly the healthiest character in the world. If Stamkos is going to get in a fight, way more likely that he gets hurt than Matthews.
You're an idiot. That you are a complete moron.
All right, so let's talk
that
about
was not that. Okay, that was
what?
Point lost his edge and fell into the boards. Now Riley pushed him.
It did look bad, and
it looked bad, but it was he tried to kill him. Get your head out of your ass.
It was one of those things that looked bad, and you did need to see 2 or 3 replays of it to realize that there wasn't a lot of malice in it. But the thing is, I understand it in the sense that we're seeing a lot of purposeful hits and malice to try and soften up the other team, if you want to call it that.
One of them. That wasn't one of them.
No, but that wasn't one of them.
No, I think everybody kind of realized that when they saw the replay of it.
And this is and Randy's right. He got up, he skated to the middle of the ice, and then he fell like he'd been shot by Lee Harvey Oswald.
He was actually hurt. Don't sit there and pretend.
He's a small guy. He was hurt.
And he's not the kind of guy who's going to do.
No, he's not. He is a tough son of a gun.
He's a tough guy. He's a very character guy. He's not going to be like you're not talking about like a guy who's going to fake being hurt from a hit.
But then after that, you had Hagel and Jeannot and Perry and Maroon all chatterboxing at the Leaf bench, and one Leaf guy, Luke Shen, was standing there basically as the sheriff. That's why I called him the sheriff. And this is where Tampa wants to go in this series. They want to drag this series into the gutter because that's the only way they can win. And you know what?
Here's something, right? So it's come to the point. John Cooper hasn't changed anything with his team, but now Sheldon Keefe has come out and said, I am going to have in-game changes tonight, and I'm not telling you about it, damn it.
Well, so Russ,
tell us what the changes are, Mike.
Russ, he said the same thing before Game 3, and then he didn't change anything.
So you don't think he's doing anything?
No.
I've watched Sheldon Keefe since he's been in the league. I was a big fan of them hiring him. I am not impressed with him in this series.
No, I'm not either.
And when I look at him, he looks terrified. Like every time
he looked terrified in the third. He didn't look terrified in the.
Every time they go to him on camera, he looks like he's like scared. Doesn't look. He's not exuding any confidence.
Here's the no-win scenario with Sheldon Keefe. In the first 2 games, people are saying, like you were saying, he looks afraid or he looks passive. He doesn't react, and then he reacts in the third period when the whole thing with Riley and Point going on, and people are saying he's out of control. He doesn't know.
I was fine with that part. But I'm not okay with the other part, which people are saying in games 1 and 2, because he continued that in Game 3, except for that one little outburst. He was still the same way. Even in overtime, they go to him and they show him on the bench, and he looks. My wife's sitting there and she doesn't know who the hell he is. He's like, man, that guy doesn't look confident. That's what she says. Like when they go to
wait. Why in the hell would you look confident with this?
Because it's your job. You're the coach of the team.
I'm sorry. There is no way if I'm a member of that organization that I feel confident about a goddamn thing. I mean,
that is why you haven't won a playoff game in a long time.
Well, sorry, it's based on history.
But again, if you're letting history drive you in the present, you're doomed. You can't. Oh, come on, you can't do that. I mean, even coaches who are getting blown out in series don't show that much weight on them. I mean, you can't have a head coach who is upset about history in that moment right then and there.
Okay. He may not be upset about history as somebody who's an observer of this team and has reported on them for over a decade.
I get that.
Yeah. Okay. So
you're allowed to be that way, but he's not, because because anybody who's involved in trying to win that game.
And Stephen Bunting will be in the lineup in Game 5, so enjoy that. He's not done.
I'm going to say something though that I think Tampa is winning on.
Yeah,
it's a slight thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the Leafs are actually having to block more shots than Tampa.
Yeah.
And they're hitting just as much. So basically, the Leafs are they're matching Tampa hit for hit because of the new guys they got, but they're having to block more shots. And you do kind of wonder if that's going to have an effect.
It's going to wear them down.
Players, if it's a long series.
Yeah, it's going to wear them down. Like guys like Hall and Giordano.
Yeah.
blocking a ton of shots. I mean, I think you've seen the wear and tear on TJ Brody. He had probably his worst game of the year in game 3. And that's why I said, with all those things that happened, they still won the game. So now in a situation where you can go back to Toronto up 3-1, you've got to up your game. You got to have, guys like Tavares who had a hat trick in game 2, but then was -3 in game 3. He's got to step up, and you got to see more out of Matthews and Marner and put Tampa on their heels for a change. But
what it feels like to me is Tampa has the edge in experience. They have the edge in attitude,
tenacity. Yeah,
not tenacity. No, not
there's a lot of will there. I mean, I have a lot of
experience. They have the edge in confidence, and they sit there and they have. But Toronto is just a better team. They're more skilled, and that they're winning because of that. They're winning because they have. They
might have been the better team last year. It doesn't mean it's the better team wins.
I said that at the time, and you said they weren't. But I said that.
No. I said they might have been.
It doesn't mean that they win the series. But I'm saying that if Toronto could close the gap on those other things, which are you can't make your team be more skilled than another team, but you can make your team be as confident as the other team. If you're a coach, that's your job. I just don't understand.
But you can't. Okay, you can't instill confidence in a group of players or a small group of players that may not be confident. You can be the best coach in the world, and you can't infuse confidence into players.
I will say this. This is something I hear from Tampa players that I never hear from Leaf players. So Ross Colton said today, this is off the Lightning's feed, morale was still high. Leaders were talking, saying we liked the way we played.
Yeah.
We came back to the drawing board, my New York accent, saw some things where we could improve on, but for the most part, the group's still ready to go. You don't really hear that same confidence out of the Leafs.
No.
You hear that we were lucky to win. We
got. No, they didn't say that, but they did say that they can play better, which they can. There's a lot of room for improvement. I'm sure they're very happy that they're up 2-1, but they have to play better if they want to be in a position to close out this. Because I'm telling you, the last thing that this team wants is to go into a game 7 against Tampa. It will be clinch time, and I'm not talking about clinching the series.
That might be exactly what they need to get past this.
No, please. No.
Honestly, until they go into a game 7 and win it, they're never going to win anything.
He wants them to walk over the burning coals to get to the win. He does. Yeah.
I want them to grow out of this experience and stop living in the friggin' past. I want them to
great. I mean, it's much more satisfying to win in 5 than to win in 7.
Oh, I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm just saying, that I want just want to see this team face, challenge, and beat it. And not winning in 5 is not facing a challenge. If they win in 5, they win in 5. If they win in 7, that's facing a challenge and beating.
No, but the other thing about that quote was there was honesty in that quote where Tampa's like, okay, we got away from our game, then we went back to what we're supposed to be doing. I feel like Cooper makes more changes than Sheldon Keefe does in game and every game to game. And that's what I worry about for the Leafs. That's the biggest thing I worry about.
Christopher, I have to get a new prescription because I think I saw Victor Hedman out there for game 3, and I think he played 30 minutes. So they weren't missing their Norris Trophy defenseman.
Yeah, not last night or 2 nights ago or whatever. I mean, I think that the reality here is they are when what you're saying, Russ, is true because when Tampa loses
32 minutes. When
Tampa loses a game, they're like, yeah, we've lost other games winning when we won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
But when Toronto loses the game, the world is ending. So it's
it's a difference. There's a difference there.
That's a huge difference, and that is something that
there's no weight on the Lightning when they've lost the game. They have no weight on their shoulders whatsoever.
Right. No, they know
because they lost. They're confident they can come back because they're experienced. I mean, this is
Nick Perbix is saying it. He's barely a Lightning player.
Right. This is post 2019 Lightning after they lose 4 straight to Columbus, after they add Goudreau and Coleman and they have a level of confidence. They've won Stanley Cups. They've gotten to Stanley Cup finals. They have confidence in their group. Toronto has proved nothing. Not a damn thing. And the only way they can get by that is to step on their neck and kill them.
All right, I'm going to ask you what sounds like it could be a very dumb question,
Mm.
but may not be because I'm asking it to you, Mike.
Yes.
Would you rather them be 2-2 in the series or up 3-1?
Up 3-1, of course.
Well, don't say of course, because sometimes you act like you don't want them to be up 3-1.
No,
And it'll be more painful if they lose.
Russ, I'm an impartial observer here. So okay. I will comment either way on where they are. But
did you really just say that?
Yes, I did. I did. Yes, I'm a member of the Media X, so I have to be.
Yeah, you should be an impartial observer.
Yes, of course I am.
No, because you're saying they can't win because they've lost in the past, Mike. That's what you're saying. I mean,
no, it's something.
That's not impartial.
It's observation. It's history. Mm-hmm. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, sir. So no, I'm just of course, Leafs Nation and everybody would be extremely ecstatic if after tonight they're up 3-1. Does that guarantee that Tampa won't come back and win 3 straight? No, it doesn't guarantee a damn thing.
Does it make it more likely that Tampa will come back and win?
No, well, I mean, if you ask Tampa whether they'd rather be tied 2-2 or losing 3-1, they'll say 2-2. But I'm sure that group will still say we can win this series because of who we're playing and their psychological frailty. Because until they do it, I won't believe that they can do it.
I really feel like we need to get a psychologist on the panel at the next game just to see if this is normal.
We're trying the best we can, Russ, to like slowly get to that like deep seated problem. It's down there somewhere, and one day Mike's gonna be like, "It's because my cat stepped on my hamster when I was 12."
I never had a cat, but
all right. Well, there you go. Anyway, all right.
Anna is my cat.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Russ just takes care of her, feeds her.
So
pays her bills.
Tonight, we're gonna see what happens. Toronto is going to play Tampa again, and
they're going to play again, yeah.
And the other games are going to happen too, and
at least more times.
Let me ask us one last question.
Yeah,
is Matt Murray even available or no?
No,
he's still not available.
He's still
because they would have played him by now. Because I was told that too. Like Simpson have had his best game in Game 3.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
The first 2 games, he was really not great. Well,
he wasn't a factor in Game 2. They only had 21 shots. He was bad in Game 1, and he was Darren Pang. Darren Pang was great. They had Darren Pang and Butch Goring as the guy in the booth and the and they were both saying is that Samsonov looked shaky in the first period, but then in the second, after the Radish goal, he was really good. He made a number of good saves. He kept it at 3-2, and then he was good in the overtime. Because Tampa, like I said, Tampa was the better of the 2 teams and had the better of the scoring chances in the second, in the third, and in overtime. And it was only Samsonov keeping them in the game that allowed them to tie it and win it. So
right. Hold on. Hold on. So I get a text from a player here.
Oh boy. Mike is a psychotic. There you go.
So he's like, I like how Mike is playing this part. I want to tell you right now, Mike is not playing a part. This is not. Everybody thinks Mike is playing a part.
I am not this good of an actor.
This is 100%
real.
This is not Mike playing the part of the everyday. Like this person thinks you're just representing how Leaf fans feel, which is true.
No, I'm not, and I'm not saying that he's acting either. But I'm not Steve Dangle. This is the real Mike. This is the real Mike. I've been this way my entire life. Whether I'm a reporter or I used to be a fan, this is what I truly believe. People think I post stuff on Twitter and I'm like, you're just trying to get clicks. No, that's what I think.
Well, then that's why with Hockey Buzz, we like to have people who are ingrained with the team talking about the team because you're hearing the Toronto feeling here. Like you're hearing how the Toronto person feels, right?
The people in Maple Leaf Square, I'm sure, were not too pleased. They were very pleased at 3-3, and they were very pleased when they won the game. But midway through the second period, they were not pleased.
Depends on the weather. Like it could be raining in Maple Leaf Square too. At least it wasn't raining.
I love Maple Leaf Square and the giant Molson puck that dances around and everything. It's
the funny thing.
This is no joke. I want Maple Leaf Square to be around for like everything good and bad in the world to show them When things are great, it's like, it's crazy. It's like the Minions movie. And then when things are bad,
people are walking around waiting.
It is very much like the Minions movie.
It's like you at the concert waiting
Live Aid. Yeah,
at Live Aid, waiting in line for the bathroom for you when U2 was on stage.
Right.
Like basically, everybody's waiting in line for the bathroom. And by the way, that area is not that big. It's like a third of a block. They just have cameras all around it.
It's funny because it looks big, but then you can see every individual person too. So it's like you realize it's not that big.
It's maybe a couple hundred, maybe 300 people.
But it has that like Times Square type feeling to it.
It does have that Times Square on New Year's Eve feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah. When you watch it, and listen, I've been on record saying I want the Leafs to win because I'm so tired of them not winning.
I'm sure some people wear adult diapers there. There's no question in my mind.
I still think, and this
are
is
there bathrooms there, Mike?
Yeah, they're porta potties.
Oh, okay, all right.
But I'll just finally this. I still remember, and it's somewhere on YouTube. The video. Somebody in one of the high rises outside of Maple Leaf Square was filming when 4-1 against Boston in 2013 happened. And I to this day, I remember they left, like half the people in Maple Leaf Square left at 4-4. They knew they were going to lose in overtime, and they left even before it emptied. So that when you talk about the lack of confidence in the Leaf fan base in this team, it's based on history and it's justified. And the only way that will change, Jack, that the thing that you're looking for is for them to step on the Tampa Bay Lightning's neck and kill them. And we'll see if they can do it.
Or just score one more goal now.
Okay.
They just have to get through that. They just have to win.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they were beating the Marlies. They just have to win a series.
Right.
And I think if they win a series, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We're all waiting on that. It could be like we could be hearing like Mike 10 years from now. They've only won one series in the last 10 years. Right. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Because I think this team has the ability to do a lot if they can get out of their own way. And that's like the end of the day.
I mean, we just don't know. That's fair to say.
We don't know what's going to happen when they get out of their own way. I mean, the next round, if they're playing, whoever they'd be playing, I guess it'd be Boston, maybe.
We would be remiss. Hold on. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about for a minute some of those videos of Kyle Dubas in game. He had a hard time holding back that game.
Oh, but there's more. Okay, there's more than one video. One I gleaned off of Hockey Night in Canada and posted it on Twitter. Then there was another one of him and Spezza when they celebrated when they won in overtime. TSN had video from the crowd. Apparently, some of the Tampa fans were yelling back.
He yelled back at them.
And he was yelling back at them. So he's into it. I mean, honestly, he wants to keep that job so
like his life depends on it. Like, I get it.
Because
he should be. I mean, I like that passion. I'm okay with that.
I think all the stuff about him, like if they win, he may not keep it. Bull crap. If they win and they offer him a job, he wants to keep that job.
I think he needs a better bodyguard because Spezza was not a great fighter.
Yeah, right. Spezza doesn't instill fear in anyone.
He did
even in his best of shape.
He's too nice.
He did beat the crap out of Neil Pionk, so.
No, but he needs somebody else there, like somebody, like if Wayne Simmons isn't playing, sit up in the box next to him.
When I think about Spezza, what I think about more, Wayne Simmons there's another one.
He may be in the lineup tonight. That might be the lineup change.
When I think,
it'll be like 30 guys in pregame skate. It's going to be like there's going to be people who are wearing Leafs uniforms that are going to be just fans skating.
They're going to sign the Hanson brothers for the pregame skate.
That would be great. I mean,
I don't know. There's going to be like a number 93. I don't know if the Leafs have had it. Well, not 93.
No, it's retired. That's Gilmore.
Right. That's Gilmore. Yeah. So you'll see a 93. You'll see a few of those numbers.
Like Peter Nedved.
All
right.
Cross.
Did Nedved ever play for the Leafs?
No, he didn't.
I thought he did for some reason.
Olli Jokinen did for about 3 games.
Listen, Olli Jokinen tried to play for the Rangers too. That's
tried to play for almost everyone, Russ.
And failed.
And I had him rumored traded to everybody 17 times. Like everybody,
and as many times as Thomas Caberlet.
He's right up there along with Thomas Caberlet in the Hall of Fame.
And listen, to be fair, Ole Jokinen had a lot of talent. He did.
He had a ton of talent, but he didn't want to be anywhere but Florida. He hated playing everywhere else.
That's true.
We got to end. We're running long, guys. We got to end.
Yeah.
We sure are, Mike. All right. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow. And God, you might want to really tune in because who knows what's going to happen.